Use the moment properly.
Let me know, Eric, when you see it up.
I was about to send St. Bernard with one of those whiskey things to go look for you.
The pre-chat discussion here that's going on. All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to our Saturday lunch discussion with Guy Finley. My name is Kate. You are joining us on this beautiful Saturday here in Southern Oregon. We've had a really nice day here at the foundation. Once a month, we like to have sort of a work party where people come in and take care of our grounds, volunteers. Then we have a nice lunch, a nicely prepared lunch. And then afterwards, we have this sort of informal discussion with Guy. So we're going to run into about 2:15 Pacific time today, so about 45 minutes. And I just wanted to do a little quick introduction to say hello. We have a lot of folks here in the room, which is great to see. A lot of people turned out today to help us. And we're just going to go with the flow here. Guy may have some opening remarks for us to get us started. And then people in the room may come up to speak with him as well. And then you guys are also out there on Facebook and YouTube. You're invited to send a note in the chat area if you wish, that I can be your proxy and talk to Guy for you. So yeah, we'll just get started and stay through the whole session if you can. I have some good announcements at the end, some special events that are coming up in June that I want to tell you about. So, all right, I'm going to go back and sit in my chair.
You could stay here. No, you have to monitor.
I want to check
Okay.
the stream.
All right.
I'm nervous. Well, I don't know where to look.
You
But
just say, hi, my name's Chris.
Hello. I just really love the talk that you gave on Wednesday night. And there were a couple different acronyms you gave us. BITS, which was before its time syndrome. And then FUNI, I think, was FUNI, which was fear of my own negative imagination. Boy, that just nails it right down. Every time that I am anxious, worried, or fearful, it is my mind that is scaring myself. It's making up what's going to happen when, and this is what I'm going to do when that happens. And then ensues this whole inner dialogue that actually just torments me and is not based in any reality. It's based in the past, trying to somehow protect the present. And we don't even know if these things are going to transpire. I just found it really helpful in my inner work to remember those two. There was a third one I can't remember, Sumi-I or something, Suni-I.
So not I.
So not I. Yeah, I can't remember exactly what that one was off the top of my head, but it's very helpful to have these acronyms to remind us.
Just the words.
That's how I recall them.
Yeah, no, I know. My
Yeah.
wife is not a fan of acronyms.
I know.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Joan, just come up.
Come on, Joni.
Okay. How many other people don't like that?
Yeah, Costco's an acronym.
I love it.
We're not, this is not open to a vote, okay?
You don't like me.
I just said it's not open to a vote.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joan. So to continue what Chris was saying,
Yes.
I think it was the same talk, worrying, anxious, fear, all that stuff. I'm a worrier. Joan is a worrier, as you well know. And I saw myself worrying the other day, and I caught something in me thinking, if I don't worry, it's not going to protect me. I can't fix anything. Something terrible is going to happen. And just seeing that, I saw, that's just such a lie. And to try to drop that worry, I dropped it, but of course it keeps coming back. But just to see that all that negativity in his imagination, and it's not true. So I appreciated that talk.
So help the people who are watching and the people in the room. How is it helpful to see what you've described? How does seeing that bring an end to that unconscious identification? How does seeing that bring an end to the torment in it?
It separates you from it. It separates, and you see it's not you. It just.
But how do you know it's not you?
Because it's separated from it. You can see it. I don't know how to explain it. There's just that identification that brings in that negative imagination and all this. Then the thoughts keep going and on. But to come back to the moment and see it, it separates you from it, and you see it's not. It's just identification. I don't know.
I'm looking for a way in which everybody can get into the same line of thought, but I'll help you. How can it be possible that something that is supposed to protect me is punishing me? So if I'm aware of the fact that my own mind, that when I let it tell me what it's doing, tells me you've got to do this, you've got to worry.
Yeah.
And then I'm aware of what that mind is doing to itself and to me, then I realize that there's a pretty big disconnect, don't I? That it's impossible to protect myself with the same thing that's punishing me and looking to that punishment as proof that what I fear is coming down the road. The punishment is not coming down the road. It is there in that moment.
No.
That's the key. So that awareness and my capacity to attend to my actual state is what allows that state to change, because no one that is awake or aware of themselves will punish themselves unconsciously.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad you said that?
And anything that's causing you to suffer or causing you pain certainly isn't coming from anything higher.
Definitely not coming from anything higher.
I'm seeing some things.
Yes, you are.
Trouble and more trouble.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Hi, I'm Deborah. I've really appreciated the talks, like everybody else has said, about fear and anxiety and worry and all of that. What I saw last night is that I've lived with this, I don't know how to say this. I've lived with this fear my whole life. And then,
Nice deep breath and relax your chest. It's so tense, it hurts me.
Okay. And then what happens is, and I can't remember which way this goes, you shoot the arrow and draw the bullseye. So in other words, this nature has lived with this tension, waiting for the other shoe to drop forever. I've never seen that I've lived with this fear forever. And then something happens in my life. And I say, that's the problem. It points to what's outside of me. And that's where the problem's coming from. Oh, no, not you, sweetie.
Everybody here thought you were pointing right to John.
And I just never realized that it went that deep.
Yeah.
It's not what's happening outside of me. It has been a nature that has been here forever. Forever.
Forever.
It's not fun. It's not fun.
Well, one day it'll be fun. You'll understand it. Our mind, and I mean our mind, this consciousness, the very structure of it, the way it works and apprehends the world and its relationships, is through an unconscious process of separation. Our consciousness is no different than a horse or a dog. They're actually better off than we are because their consciousness doesn't have imagination loaded into it that can carry over the past that way. The awareness of something is what consciousness is at that level. I'm aware of something. I am conscious of what I'm aware of. But that consciousness sees what it is aware of as being separate than the consciousness that has the awareness of it. So that we see everyone and everything as being outside of us. Now, that consciousness lives in an almost constant state of stress.
Yes.
And the stress that consciousness lives in is because it perceives everything that transpires as something that has happened to it. And as long as you live from a mind that looks at everyone and everything as something that you have to deal with, which is pretty much how we see our relationships, aren't they? So I'm always dealing with something. And if I'm not dealing with Doug or Sue or Leah, if I'm not dealing with Chris especially,
Poor Chris.
if I'm not dealing with them directly, then my mind and my thoughts are occupied about how to avoid any further dealings with these things, because that mind lives in a constant state of believing that under no circumstances is it intended to be disturbed by anything other than someone bringing it cupcakes. Right, honey?
Chocolate.
Nothing in a human being's life can change as long as they look at life as something that they have to deal with because of some unwanted moment, event, or relationship that is being done to them. As you wake up and finally grow weary of the fear inherent in this incessant searching for what's the cause of this disturbance, how do I deal with it, as you grow out of that, which you can only grow out of by ultimately becoming so dissatisfied with the futile results of trying to make everyone and everything into what you need them to be, so they're no longer happening to you. There's a major shift that takes place. And it's really where, how should I say, it's a true dividing line in a person's work. Because it isn't until a person realizes that life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. That you no longer summarily, unconsciously resist the things that you've always thought you had to deal with. Because in those moments when you realize, A, I have unsuccessfully dealt with everything, even though I've got people where they should be, I've succeeded, blah, blah, blah. I'm still always tense. I'm still by the way, that why I tell you to breathe is there's so much tension in your chest. That's part of why all that explosiveness comes out of, because there's this constant sense of needing to protect myself, get it out. Life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. What does that mean? It's happening for you. You tell me, you've been studying long enough. When do you know that life isn't happening to you as opposed to for you? Or do you think this is happening to you right now?
Yeah, I feel like life is happening to me right
All right,
now.
I'll help you. And anybody that wants to help her can. But you just sat here and said that for forever, I have lived in a world where I am constantly full of fear and don't know I'm constantly full of fear.
Yep.
So that every moment in your life that seemed to bring that fear to you, you suddenly have a new relationship with the way you see that. Do you not?
Yes.
So that means that fear is no longer happening to you, but that consciousness revealed is happening for you, because now you have a chance to work with the moment and use it properly instead of feeling used by it, because you have to deal with it again. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I do.
Tell me what I said.
That life isn't happening to me, it's happening for me in order to reveal this nature.
Exactly.
And there are actual times when I can feel the blessing of that. I really do. It's horrible.
So if you can feel from time to time, how many of you from time to time know that actually, even though I wish to God this wasn't happening, I can see there is some residual effect in this awareness of myself that is changing my relationship to the moment, to my husband, my wife, my friends. Yes?
Yes.
So can you not extrapolate further? I've often talked about this, but I never am able to quite express it the way I want to. There's no one here in this room, and I would assume who's still watching or listening, that hasn't had at least once a moment where the thing that they wished more than ever had never happened didn't prove downstream. Maybe it was 10 years, 20 years, that turned out to be something that was invaluable to my spiritual life. Yes or no?
Yes.
Now, what if you were able to see those moments without having to take 10 or 20 years to mine the value out of them in terms of liberating you from the consciousness that forever is conflicted and conflicting with that world? So you get the idea. If I can just be present enough and catch the thing happening to me and drop my hands, meaning consciously drop the resistance, then in that moment, I can let something else come in and start to show me why I'm experiencing in this way, the nature that is reactive, and how, as long as I identify with those reactions, I'm never going to be released from that consciousness, because our consciousness tells us the source of our reaction is outside of us.
Right.
Our consciousness, this present consciousness, tells us the source of my suffering, of this reaction, is outside of me. But it never says the reaction is the source of the suffering. Please. It never says, oh, look at that reaction. This hurts.
Oh,
It always says, look at what caused this reaction, and that's what's causing this pain.
Right.
And that is not the source of the pain. The source of all this unconscious pain is a consciousness that is divided between an observer and an observed, that is forever in conflict with what it sees, until what it sees it can change.
Yes.
And fear is the interim between the observer and the observer, where the reaction tells you, if I just get all this dealt with, I'll be okay.
Mhm.
And you can get it dealt with, but it doesn't change
Right.
the fact that you're delivered over and over again into the hands of Legion,
Right.
into the hands of that unconscious nature.
Exactly. Yes.
Exactly?
Yes.
All right, you got it then.
Well, I would just add that most of the time I'm pushing away. I'm pushing at life, like you just said. Get this handled so that I can go on. But I never go on, and it's never handled, and I'm never happy. It's never that. It's never what it's promising me, is what I'm starting to see.
So now what? How
So-
will I know? How will Debbie know that John, who just took 44 minutes to put on his shoes, I'm just exaggerating, but not that much.
Yeah. He is so slow. He's even slow to speak.
How will I ever know that all of that impatience that I feel isn't because of John? Because I think the impatience is happening to me because of what he is.
Right.
How will I ever go from knowing that, watching that take place and all this coming, how will I ever go to, I don't have to deal with that. I need to discover something about it. From dealing with a moment to using it as a process. How am I going to do that? What has to happen?
I'll just tell you what I've been working.
Well, what else can you tell me? Sit up.
Well, it might not make sense, but I actually try to sit there with the moment and invite it in, let it be what it is, or see the nature that's pushing this thing away. And I just am there with it rather than saying, get away from me, is what I've been working with.
So she said something that is true on one hand, but is not true on another. And I can't say whether she understands this, but I want to make sure that you do and everyone else does. There's a big difference between me sitting and biting the bullet versus taking the gun out of the hand of that consciousness. Big difference. Because if I sit here and go, all right, I'm just going to, this is the way it is, I'm just going to bear this. There's still animosity, there's impatience, there's still separation, and nothing about that moment is changing the perceiver.
Right.
Nothing. How many of you see that?
Yeah.
So it can't be tolerance.
Right.
Tolerance is not spirituality. Tolerance is a secret form of superiority in which I believe I'm other than that person. I can't get him to jump through the hoop, so I'll just sit here, ringmaster, and silently bear what I have to bear until he finally gets out of the cage.
So I wasn't even referring to John. I was referring
Well,
to
everything refers to God.
I was referring to myself and this nature. When I can feel something pushing me, do this, get this done, be this, I can be there with,
Are you there tense, or are you there as relaxed as you can be to experience fully what it is that Debbie's doing to Debbie? Which is it? Is there tension?
it vacillates, it goes back and forth. I feel the tension, and then I can feel the shift in
Good.
my physical being
That's it.
because something changes in me.
That's the
And then
difference.
I'm drawn right back into
Yes,
it.
yes.
Yes.
But that is the difference between using what I always have to deal with to be delivered from what I have been delivered into. That's the difference. You work with that. You work with that. You work with that. And then it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what people do, what they say. Everything is a constant experience, even though you may have the initial, which is very, we're not saying you're ever free of reactions. That's impossible. This consciousness will always have some form of resistance to what is acting on it. Much like Jeff was showing with that little light bulb in the student talk last night. You know, that radiometer, what he talked about, how that thing in that vacuum is so sensitive to the photons in light that it spins. And if that's true, how much more so is the human consciousness susceptible to the various powers that be, whatever they are, moving into and through? They are going to move something. The question is, am I going to be aware of the movement, or am I going to be identified with it? It's that simple. Aware of the movement or identified with it. If I can be aware of the movement, I have a chance to study it, to observe it. But if I'm identified with the movement, I'm dead in the water. Did you wink at me?
I did. Don't tell that.
Don't do that.
Okay.
I'm back.
Yes, you are.
This is great. I was putting something together in my mind as the two of you were chatting. In one of the short talks that you did,
Hold on.
Yeah.
Why did I say don't wink at me?
I don't know.
Because it's just
Oh, I do know.
okay.
I think that's part of my personality.
Well, it's part of the way you release
Yes.
pressure. I don't want you to do that.
that's a good reminder.
For all of us,
Right.
you know, the giggle, the fawning
Different ways.
smile,
Right.
all the various postures and behaviors are all ways in which this tension is mechanically released. And then you get through it. You've smoothed your way, right?
Mhm.
No more smooth.
Mhm.
Okay.
There'll be a long lesson in that.
Well, you have forever as long as you love the truth.
In a short talk that you gave recently, actually, it was a little clip that you did as a promotion for our upcoming talks in June, which you're going to be speaking twice on Enter the Never-Ending Flame of Self-Transformation.
The tips talks, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday talks.
Yeah,
okay.
and I'll be telling more about that at the end of the broadcast here. But in that one of those clips, you said something like, we discover ourselves through what we're drawn to. And, you know, a person, and you often will give an example of like, well, I'm drawn to a sunset. I'm drawn to a bunny rabbit. I'm drawn to whatever.
I don't
you
know
know,
if I ever said I was drawn to a bunny.
I said that for Isabella out there if she's watching. Right. And so it awakens that corresponding part within you, and there's a direct relationship, and you're brought into a part of yourself through that
I
relationship.
discovered the bunny in me.
Yes. Hop, hop.
No, that's quite, it's more accurate than I can possibly tell you. You have every character and quality of any creature that God ever made in you. The beauty of this life is realizing that you have all of these infinite capacities to experience levels of consciousness that most human beings will never know, though they are drawn to certain things for that experience. Please go on.
Okay, well, this is great. This is great because I realize we're also drawn to what seems negative and dark.
Yes.
And that's also for the purpose of discovering myself.
Yes.
And so this thing that I think I don't want, that I'm pushing away, is like this priceless invitation.
Yes. Now you've discovered the axiom that opposites attract.
Yes. Okay. So that puts a whole different spin on it, because then all the things like that Deborah was talking about, if there's if there's a remembrance that this is, I'm actually, this thing that I think I'm pushing away that I don't want, that actually is me being attracted to it. What is attracting me to it? I'm not sure. That which gets completed through the revelation of,
Everything seeks reconciliation.
Yeah, there you go.
Everything. So all of these unconscious aspects that are our unconsciousness, with whatever aspects have been delivered and developed over time, environment, culture, blah, 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 that all needs to be reconciled. Karma is because of the lack of reconciliation between the inner and outer worlds, which means there's no bad karma. There's just the constant justice of something inviting me to discover where I am still out of whack with the rest of reality as I need to be involved in it.
Yeah, and see, it's exciting to sit here and say that, but not when it's so much fun.
you look. I would never say take it on my word, because that's not how it goes. But it is inevitable that you will reach a point in your development where you understand that there is no movement, no wave that comes into and through you that produces some form of immediate resistance that hasn't come to teach you that if you will let all of that happen for you, you will be realized and released from the consciousness that's resisting, because it will have been integrated by your agreement, not my will, but thy will be done.
Right. Yeah, in that same clip, you also said we're here to grow into what we love.
Yes.
And it's a new kind of love that we discover.
No, not new kind of love. It is love.
Right, okay. It's real love.
It is love. That's exactly right.
Okay.
We love when things happen for us. We don't love what happens to us. Love is not divided up into the opposites. Only we see it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Quitters never prosper. Quitters never prosper. No matter how prosperous they may seem to be, if they have quit on their wish to have a relationship with the divine, to be awake, all they are prosperous in is finding new ways to punish themselves through what they pursue to prove to themselves they are as they've imagined themselves to be.
This is interesting to me because I often think about the meaning of incomplete experiences and why certain things always come back from our past to haunt us. And I have been thinking that it's because the experiences are incomplete. They were never reconciled.
Put it together.
I'm trying.
I know, but I want to.
Okay.
She said, how many of you think the past keeps coming back? And when the past comes back, I'm not going, oh, geez, that's great. When the past comes back, like the ghost of Christmas pain, what's the first thing that I do when I think the past comes back? Yeah, Dana said, I resist immediately. You must understand the past doesn't come back. You've never left the world in which it lives. What do you think reincarnation is? When you understand that the reason it seems like the past has come back is because the consciousness responsible for the content of that experience has just simply duplicated itself using different forms, different places, and people. That's it. The exact same consciousness. So the past doesn't come back. This reincarnates itself in the present moment and then blames the past for the pain.
Right. And so the experience is revisits us so that it can be reconciled.
Yes.
That's the point that I wanted to make.
But it's not the experience that's reconciled, is it? What's reconciled is I finally understand the reason for the conflict is because this consciousness keeps recreating everything it says it doesn't want. And if I see it recreates what I don't want, then one day I am no longer involved in it. Then that consciousness is reconciled to itself. We are not the ones who reconcile our own consciousness. We are not the ones who reconcile our own consciousness. The reconciliation takes place in the marriage of the opposites, which we are the witness to as we watch active and passive forces, as we watch what we want and don't want to meet. If we're there, we discover, which is tomorrow's talk, incidentally, now that I'm saying it, we discover, OMG, it's already reconciled. I just have to be here long enough to see it.
That's right. And I have to stay out of meddling in the middle of it.
Yes, yes, please, God. Yeah.
No. I just really love it because I know, in the world when you struggle with relationships or difficulties and you're always, there's that consciousness always tries to jump in and fix and figure out and do. And it's not really until a person really sees the futileness of the conflict and lets go that something else can come in and show you a higher view.
It calls to you.
Right.
It calls to itself, but you're so used to the voice as being other than you that you engage in a dialogue with it, and it tempts you. Imagine being so asleep that you can be tempted into tormenting yourself.
Right.
That is exactly what happens. But one day you say, no, what's that in the desert? The temptation of Christ. And not by, yeah. What is that quote?
There's three of them. Which one?
Any one of them is good. Not by bread alone, but by the word of God.
Right.
Meaning not just by what I want to please myself. That's not important to me anymore because I know that I cannot please I can't please mammon. I can't
Right.
please the hungry ghost, east, west, whatever. So what is it that pleases? And then the word is the idea of something that integrates and feeds the soul. And through that, I outgrow the temptation because that's what has to happen. You actually will outgrow temptation. But you outgrow temptation because you grow into what you love, and what loves you gives you what you need to see everything in its proper light.
Right. The struggle is futile. When the person really begins to see that, changes everything.
It's a rough hoe to row. The struggle is futile. I have to learn to struggle in a new way.
Right.
Instead of struggling and unconsciously suffering the condition, I must now struggle to consciously suffer the condition my mind blames for this conflict. Then it remains with me. And as it remains with me, then I become into a true relationship of need. Where do you think real prayer comes from?
Right.
Real prayer cannot be separated from the recognition of the helplessness of the consciousness that creates conflict for itself.
And the thing is that we struggle and are in pain no matter what. So, but if we consciously do
Useless struggle, useful struggle.
Yeah.
Productive struggle, destructive struggle.
Right.
We about there, Kate? It looks to me.
10
No,
minutes.
10 minutes.
I'll just read a comment though that came in from Dawn
Sure.
watching on YouTube.
Hi, Dawn on YouTube.
Dawn's been here to visit.
Oh,
That Dawn.
yeah.
Dawn says, I'm finally getting glimpses of the database incessantly running in my head and skewing my view of all else. blocking all else actually and creating problems for me to solve.
Isn't it extraordinary? And maybe you don't see it yet. My whole life, when something happens to me, I'm always struggling to do this and to do that and figure that out and go here and get there. And then as you wake up, you realize that you don't have to do anything. And what you do if you must, is because you have been given proper interior instruction that will not cause an obstruction in your development, let alone cause anyone else pain. You are, for all intents and purposes, brought into a different relationship with life. Come on. Must be St. Patty's Day. St. Sally's Day.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sally. When Kate was up here talking, something inside me, when you were Kate in your discussion, just was so excited by something. And then with Chris, with what she had to say, just kind of increased that. And it was around the idea of this resistance that comes up. And hang on. The invitation. And it just
You swallowed the last thing you said.
the invitation.
The invitation.
And it just really struck me in a whole different way that resistance isn't really, if we let it, nothing more than the herald or the announcement of the invitation.
That's correct. I've said it in so many different ways, but resistance is revelation. Resistance is revelation. Through resistance, I see revealed in me the nature that doesn't want, the nature that insists, that fights, sees everything happening to it. So that, and I've even said it, how do you think you see the people around you, the trees, the spring? You see what you see with your eyes, because every piece of matter, dark in its nature originally, resists the light that comes into it. And what you see is what is reflected from it. It absorbs everything else. So resistance reveals. If that's true in the world, as above, so below, so it is true with me. Resistance reveals what I cannot see so that I can see it. But if I look at it and something goes, oh no, I don't want to see that, then I'm dead in the water, which is mostly what happens.
Right. Because this mind has always, or this nature has always looked at resistance like it's something bad.
Bad.
It can't be part of me.
No, it's bad. It's very bad. It's very bad.
But it's my enemy, so I resist the resistance. So that's the way this nature.
No, that's right, Sally. Look, you can't be, although our present spiritual culture basically tries to get you to accept and imitate the idea. You can't be a Pollyanna, but you can begin to understand that whatever the initial reaction is, where it feels like this is bad, that in that initial reaction, that which ordinarily seems happening to you can be understood as for you. You're not going to get rid of those reactions. I'll say it again. But you can change your relationship to them. That's what the real work is about. And then the real reward of the work is ultimately understanding that that's a living relationship that never stops changing. And if you're changing with the life, then life is changing you, and you are no longer outside of, apart from the world in which you live. Another kind of eternity that you experience. Okay. This is Wayne, my younger brother. Brother from another mother.
So I really like this conversation because, and what you were talking about on Wednesday night with the 4 horsemen, because I had an experience, I think I talked about last night a little bit, in which I went to do shopping And when I drove home and thought I was completely aware, and I realized that I'd left my phone back in the store.
In the bakery section.
But in that reaction, I realized, because I've carried this thing about fear of making mistakes. And so I sat there.
Let's be careful. You said, I carry this.
Right.
You do not carry this.
Thank you.
Please understand that. The feeling of I is so slippery. It just flows out.
It does.
The students here know, you've had a rough upbringing. Your parents were unkind to you, to say the least. And in that unkindness, there is the constant fear of attracting more attack should you do something stupid or mistaken. So that anytime that happens, all of that floods back, as you well know. And that's what this fear of making a mistake is about. But it isn't Wayne who left his phone there. Wayne was occupied, asleep. Now Wayne wakes up and sees I left it there, and then he has to catch, as you did. You may pick up the story here, but I want to make it clear to everybody. It isn't I who carries this fear.
Thank you for that
Yeah.
clarification. That's good. So I sat there and I was in complete double attention, and I just can't do this anymore.
I can't do what?
I cannot let this nature control me like this.
I can't punish myself anymore.
Yes. And so I got in my car, and I was in complete attention, and I could just feel this this punishment happening constantly, and I was just aware of it, and I was just driving, going to pick up my phone, and I got there. I said, "Thank you very much," and it was so enlightening for me.
Yes, and that's the proper word, because when I'm aware of, and he used an interesting word, trying to pull me down, you wouldn't think of it, but there is a distinct gravity to these moments.
Yeah.
And if there's a distinct gravity, on what body is it acting? Do you understand?
Mhm.
You can't drag light into the darkness, can you? No. So that disparity that became conscious creates, by its very presence, another kind of energy, another kind of awareness. That energy and that awareness is what we're looking for, because for one thing, it releases me from the bad habit and proves to me that I can do something other than punish myself in these moments. Then I'm using this word carefully because I don't like it much. Then I am empowered through that awareness to no longer participate with punishing myself.
Yes.
And the energy that would have gone into making Wayne a mess makes him into something else that has a new understanding.
Yeah, I felt a complete change.
Yeah, it is, Wayne. It is 100% what you've described. Invaluable.
Thank you.
And that should happen every moment as best possible.
Ready to wrap up?
Here's the wrap up.
Here we go, wrapping up. All right, thanks for joining us today, everyone. And hope that you can join us again tomorrow for our usual Sunday class with Guy, Letting Go with Guy Finley live. It's at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. I know a lot of you are probably already tuned in for those classes, but if not, you can go to our website and learn more about it. Get registered. We now broadcast here on Facebook and YouTube, and we also, of course, broadcast on GoToWebinar. If you sign in on GoToWebinar, you're able to actually participate in the class directly. So do go to our website, and you'll see links there for signing up if you're not already on. And
For free.
for free. These are free classes. All right. So, and tomorrow's topic will be invite the divine to reorganize your life and realize liberation. That's a good one. Well, they're all good. What am I saying? All right. I also wanted to just encourage you, I mentioned at the start of the broadcast that I would tell you about a couple of special events, and I kind of dropped it in earlier as we were going along. But in June, Guy has two events that I want to make sure you know about. On Thursday, June 8th, he's going to be doing a special Zoom event sponsored by the New Renaissance Bookshop up in Portland. But he'll be online for this Zoom event, and you can participate in that as well. And that's just another different environment altogether. If you know Zoom, you're able to, everyone's able to kind of get on there and again, interact with Guy. Small cost for the ticket. It's $10, but you can go to guyfinley.org/ticket, and that redirects you to their website so that you can go ahead and register. And that supports their work and ours as well. And he's going to be speaking on Enter the Never-Ending Flame of Self-Transformation, which is also the topic for our June Talks in the Pines / Weekend of Wisdom. I mentioned that earlier, June 23rd to the 25th. It's a wonderful time to come visit here at Life of Learning if you have it in your heart to do so. You can meet Guy, you can meet all the longtime students, you can take in the special environment here at the foundation. There's nothing like it. So we'd encourage you to come in person for that if you can. But if not, we will be live streaming that as well for free. And we also have a replay package that you can get a hold of where you can get the downloads and everything afterwards. So again, go to guyfinley.org/events and you'll find information about all of these events. Phew, that's all I have to say. And the stream stayed live the entire time. So that's a bonus.
We're a technologically challenged group.
We do our best.
Yes, we do.
All right. Well, I have nothing else. Do you want to add
No,
anything?
that's all. I'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye, everyone. Thanks again.